we created this class, service, and service group, right? Then we did in Azure 3 steps. We copied the client ID, secret tenant ID. Then we are going to do a postman. Like we are going to do in the connection, we are going to generate a token, and we are going to query a service. 3 steps. Okay. So for this, you require a postman utility. So I'll just open postman from here. Postman. So we'll start it from the scratch. I'll not go with the one which is already existing. So let's go say it's going to be a new collection. I'm going to create a new collection. Let me call this to be expert B2 training. Okay. So now I wanted to generate a token. So I'll just say add a request. Let me call this to be token generation. Token generation is something like there are 2 steps process I told. One is that if you want to communicate with the Dynamics, first you have to authenticate and say that, hey, the authentication is successful or not. Then that authentication you have to provide in the request and send it. So the first step is be to see how we can authenticate it. It is something like HTTPS.
Sorry, Papa. One small request. What is that? Can you explain that why we are creating that connection and request and environment? Little bit detail. It will be help us to
Sure,
understand.
no problem. So can you wait for some time so that I can just complete this, so then I can reiterate.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. So now I'll just go for login.microsoft online.com/. Now I want to connect to a particular tenant, and my tenant is available with the client ID. So I had a client IDs and all here. So let me copy this and keep it in my local. Okay. So this is my tenant ID. So I'll just copy this, paste it here. And for this, I'm just going to generate a token now called OAuth2/token. This is a URL basically. So what it's going to say to a Microsoft login. So any sign in you do, right, with the username or password or whatever. Okay. So I'm just going to connect to this particular tenant ID 69 or whatever. Okay. So then there is an authentication mechanism. I want to give this particular token. That's what it says. Okay. Now go to the body. Go to the form data. Now we have to keep providing the informations what we have for connection. First, I have the client ID available here. So the client ID will come like client underscore ID, this value. Next, client secret, client underscore secret. So we have the client secret value here. Okay. Now next resource URL, the URL what you have, that is this one. Okay. And there is an option called grant type. Okay. It is going to say you're going to take client credentials. This is a way of authentication. So we are going to grant the access type by using the client credentials, which is provided above. Okay. So that's it. We have provided all the 4 parameters right here. Okay. And first we can save this. Go and click on send button. Now it's going to communicate with Dynamics, and it has provided a token information here, which means to say that a new bearer token has been created, and it expires on, this is a milliseconds or nanosecond, I'm not sure. So it expires on this particular date. It is valid from now and it expires on that particular date. So it's valid for 30 minutes or something, I believe. Every time you have to keep refreshing the token. Every time you send a request, you have to refresh the token, then you have to send it. That is what is called token-based authentication. I'll explain you what is it. Now a token has been formed here. Okay, and this is the one which we have to communicate with the other service. Okay, so to give you a certain idea, what is this token-based authentication? So let's say here, like we have D365 available. Okay, and we have external application available right here. Okay, like a post server. When the external application sends any request back to Dynamics, okay, what it has to send, okay, it has to send all the client details and other things, okay, and depending on that, okay, system is going to give you back the token here, saying this token is nothing but a kind of an acknowledgement. So I'm going to input my information like with whatever I want, like a client ID, secret and all. Okay, tenant ID and resource URL. Okay, so you're going to input this information back right here to D365 like this, and it is going to like, okay, output this information back to your token. Now, this token as an acknowledgement, we have to attach it to the request. So we are going to create any request for post or get or whatever. Any point of time you want to communicate further with the Dynamics 365, you need not provide the client ID, client secret again later. This is not required. The reason because with this information, I already found an authentication and I had a token generated right here, right? So now going forward, I want to use this token as a authentication mechanism to communicate. It's basically like a username and password, right? So you enter it for the first time. What you do, okay, you just have to provide the username and password. Then you can just keep using. The system will start using that particular one. But any point of time, again, you want to log into another system. Okay, what you have to do again? You have to do a username and password entry again. So here, like we are creating a token-based authentication system so that one request token I can create, which with this I can just access multiple services for 30 minutes. Once the 30 minutes will be done, the token will get expired. Again, you have to do this particular process again. So this particular process called client ID, client secret. Again, you have to replenish the token. Then with this token, you can again query the service. Do you get an idea now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So now we have generated this token and we are good to go and communicate the service. So what is the service actually generally? When we go into the system, my service was API slash services slash EXP B2 service group export tax service slash compute total tax. This was the service actually. So I'll just copy the service name entirely. Okay. And go back to my postman. I'll create a new post request. This is the actual request. We are going to send it now. So I'm going to post the data to this particular URL now. Okay. And with the authorization, which I have taken by using bearer token. So the token which has been generated from here, I can copy this, go back to the new request and paste it in this area. Okay, very simple. Now, in the body section, I'm going to pass an input actually. So it has to be a JSON kind of an input. You'll have to pass. It's a JSON, your input. So you have to say that, hey, the first one is going to take a parameter called underscore sales order. Okay. So underscore sales order. And this is going to be of what type? It's going to be of string type. So I have to provide a string input here. So let me call this to be SO001. Then put a comma. Then I have the second input that has to be given in the amount, which is need to be in decimal format. So I'll just give underscore amount, which is going to say my amount is 345.50. Okay. So to input I give by using the authentication token, save it, and the request name we'll say it as compute total tax. Okay. So now if I go a send, system is going to communicate to Dynamics. Okay. And it's going to say that for 345, what is the total with the service tax amount? Okay. So now we'll just try to create another service here to get only the total tax amount only, not the entire thing actually. So for that, again, I'll create a new request because we had a separate service for that, right? The service name was compute only tax. And this is also taking the same kind of parameter and the same output. So I'll just copy this compute only tax from here. Paste it. Compute only tax. Again, in the authorization area, I'm going to say the bearer token, the token that is generated now. It is up to you. You can actually store this token in some place and say that, hey, I wanted to use that for some time, or you can keep generating the token for each and every request. That is up to you. Okay. Then go to the body, raw, JSON. I'm going to copy paste the JSON from the previous area, which I generated, because both are going to be the same. Okay. So now we are done with the second service also, and do a send. Okay, it's a get actually. It has to be post. Sorry. Save it. Okay. Now the system is going to say that, hey, there is a total tax for this amount 345.50 is 34.55. So we say that 345.50 plus 34.55 is nothing but 380.05. That is what has been given in this particular service, 380.05. Got it? This is a very simplest and the easiest way for communicating with the dynamics, and it's going to give the output back to you. In the similar way, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This is just for testing, correct?
This is just for testing, one service. Not only for testing, let's say that now you can just go and do some business logic on top of it, right? Let's say that hey, I want to do a tax calculation. Now I wanted to post a sales order so that you can take the sales order input here and you can write the code for automatic posting of the sales order or automatic confirmation of the sales order. So that code you can write it here and send it back the output to external application.